as it happened, the funding somehow got redirected, and so we didn't have a new building. However, I stayed on at the college, and so the director at that time then asked me if I would uh, organize cultural camps, and so which I did with the late elder Gordon Rain that was there at that time. And so a lot of that has been kind of my work has been organizing cultural events, organizing cultural teachings, and and I find that one time I was teaching at Northwest College in Edmonton, and we were talking about smudging, and so we had this presentation of the uh, we were watching a little documentary called "What the Bleep," and in there is it was talking about how they were taking two. They had two containers of water, and they took one container. Well, they both looked at the molecules of the water, and then you could see that the molecules of water were all in random. They weren't in any kind of organization. They were just in random fashion. And so they took one container and they gave it to a Japanese monk, and he performed ceremony and he prayed over it. And then when they brought it back, and they looked at the container, the water molecules in the container that hadn't been touched were still the same, but the one that had been prayed over and smudged, and the water molecules were in a they were like in an organized fashion. And then so this little 40-watt light bulb, kind of a dim light came on in my head and said, "Oh, okay, maybe that's why my mom and my grandmother always used to insist that I smudge." And so I understand now is that the insistence of smudging really was to bring everybody into a cohesive pattern, a cohesive an energy pattern, and and then over the years I come to accept that smudging ceremonies and is really to bring everybody into into the same energy pattern, and same spiritual pattern, and so we just did a feast yesterday, and so I had one of the young men, smudge all the food, and then he brought the smudge, and everybody smudged, as it was being brought around, and then so, unknowingly, we were all coming into the same energy pattern, and which speaks to the theory that the group is more important than the individual. And then so in that sense of belonging, the smudging brings a sense of belonging into the group. And so I find that especially working with younger people, they don't really know why they're smudging, but they know somehow when they're smudging, they have a sense of belonging into into the group of who their people are, and so I find that smudging is also has a like a calming effect, and I think that because of the sense that I am I have an identity, I have I belong to this group, and so I've always found the smudging ceremony to be valuable, but also to be able to teach what the smudging is about, and so I remember one time I was given a group of young people, and we took them out into the mountains, and these were young people who were at risk. These were young people who were I guess they were labeled the troublemakers in the community, and so little gangsters. So they were all under 18 years old, and they were in school. And then so they we took about 15 of them. It was a co-ed group, and we took them out into the mountains. And when we went ahead, and then when the bus got there with them, they all piled out of the bus, and then so all these fights started. Like they were settling these little scores of wait till the bus, wait till we get off the bus, I'm gonna beat you up, sort of thing. And so after the dust settled, and the way we settled it, it seems like we lit up the smudge, and we did a pipe ceremony, and that had a real calming effect on the whole group. They set aside their little differences and came together, sat in a circle. And so I've always found with working with young people like that that has a calming effect, with the young people. And so when we were doing that, that group, I remember, we were there 10 days. And, the first 3 days, I mean, they were testing us, they were testing us to see if we were going to, how we were going to respond. And then, I had a meeting with the camp group, us as the facilitator, and then all the helpers and supervisors, and we committed to not responding in a like fashion of the way the young kids were acting up. And then so we responded with patience. We responded with creating a safety. We responded with just waiting for them, to get settled in. And part of that also is that we changed the diet. We cut out a lot of sugar, and which was it was pretty hard on them, because they were looking for dessert after we ate, and because they were I believe they were looking for sugar. And so but after 3 days, the whole group seemed like it just settled down. I remember in the second day that we were there, we had a book program all planned out. And then we knew right away that that whole program wasn't going to work, and so we had to deal with them as as things happened. And so the second day we said, well, tomorrow, just to use up the energy, we're going to climb that mountain. This is in Kootenay Plains, and then there's a mountain just to the west of the camp area. And so we made an agreement, and in the morning I did a pipe ceremony where we cut little ribbons, and I told him, I said, I have enough ribbons here for everybody, and I'm going to climb that mountain, and I'm inviting you to come up to come and join me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little ribbon, I'm going to go up on one of the trees up there, and I'm going to hang it as a commitment, but also as to honor people in my life. And so after the pipe ceremony, I took this one ribbon, I tied it around my neck there, and then and all the staff, they all did the same, and then we waited for the kids. And I thought maybe, for a while, I thought maybe it was only the staff that were going to climb the mountain, and then none of the kids were, jumped up to grab a ribbon. Eventually, one did, then another one, and finally they all, grabbed the ribbon, and and then so we left, and we got to the base of the mountain. We opened the door, and they just piled out and ran up the mountain. And so I told the younger staff, just keep up with them, stay with them, and we'll be coming up behind you somewhere, and so, I think it was about, we finally reached the top of the tree line, by about, I think it was about, maybe about 2 o'clock, and so we brought lunch with us, and we had lunch up, up there, and then we did a pipe ceremony, and I always remember that moment, because in that pipe ceremony, and like I spoke about people that we wanted to honor in our life, and so they remembered people in their family they wanted to honor, and then after the pipe ceremony, then, and then I asked him, he said, just, find a tree and go and hang your ribbon, in memory, and so they all did. And we spent about an hour there, just resting, and it was like a real quiet time. All the little differences that they had, weren't there, and then so and after a while, then I said, okay, we're going back down. Just a just a big cloud of dust. They all ran down. And so we walked down. Halfway down the mountain, we could see them already by the bus. They were playing field hockey, They ran all the way down, and they left us, while they had the younger supervisors with them, and so, so that's an experience that, I found that, had there was something about the smudging ceremony that they, that that brought their attention into themselves, and also into whatever memory and personal thoughts were, so that I always find that that helps, and with the smudging ceremony. So by the time we were a day before, I think it was about the third day or the fourth day, we built a lodge, a sweat lodge, and then so, and by that time, the kids had already, we began to see the humanness, the human side of them. We began to see the little boy, the little girl, their needs, and what they wanted to do, and the conversation and the communication, the interaction came on a real personal level, so all these other thoughts of being involved in gang activity were no longer there, and so we were, so we spend the next few days in, the atmosphere and the attitude of the group was really changed, and so it became enjoyable, after the initial few days. And the day before we were coming home, we had a sweat lodge ceremony, and in the sweat lodge ceremony, then we had a circle, and almost every one of them talked about going home the next day. Going home the next day, they realized that they were going back to what they had left behind. And so they spoke about regret, that I'm going back into the same situation that was there when I left. And I'm going back into the gang. I'm going back into an environment that is not safe. And so they talked about things that they had wanted to do, but there's also talk about the fear of going back, and wondering how things were going to be after they had gotten back, and the unfortunate part of that is that there was no follow-up with that group. They literally went back into the same environment that they came from when we had left. And I saw a lot of those young men and young ladies, in a coffin, and over the years. And one of the one of the pictures, like they have, like in memory, as was this group picture of that time that we were in the mountains, and in speaking with the family, like they all talked about how that was a good memory for the kids, and they wanted to, they put that picture, in part of the items of speaking about the memory of the young people, and so what I saw there was that somewhere inside, every little kid, there's a little person there that wants a better life, wants something better. And especially if a lot of them feel like they're trapped in an environment that they're, that is not, they have to be part of the environment to survive. They can't survive as being what they hope to be, and so it really changes, the mental attitude of some of them, so when I work with people, like I've done a lot of ceremony, and one of the the main ceremonies that I do is the Sundance ceremony, and we sing songs in the Sundance ceremony, and these songs are passed on from elder to elder, from person to person, and some of these songs, like myself personally, I begin to wonder who was the author of these songs, because the way the songs, the way they're worded, it seems that it wasn't a human being that was the author of this song. It was something special, like a very spiritual being, and so I'll talk about that. And I'm just looking at the time. I believe that we're having a break in a couple of minutes, and so I'm not sure how long we want to take a break for. Do you want to take a break
15,
for about
15?
I think we're
15
going
minutes.
to 11:30.
Yes, we can 10:45. We can give a break now, and attendees can fill in the participation. Their introductions, online introductions too. We can
Okay,
give them a
so
break now, and we can come back at 11 o'clock, Mr. Crier.
okay, all right. So anyway, so one of the songs that I use one of the songs for teaching, and the interpretation is it's almost like a creation story song, and so it has a song. It has 4 verses to it, but it also has there are 2 story songs that speak about the what we call Bigyan, and leading up to the before we sing the song, and in Cree we say achak, achak, we take it to mean spirit, but really the word achak is, when the Cree language is, there are very few nouns as compared to, English. English, we have a lot of nouns, but in the Cree, there's very few nouns. Most things that we would normally that we would normally identify as nouns are really action words, you know. So the word that we use, commonly used for spirit, we say acha in Cree, you know, but really it's an action word, you know. If I, you know, I have my coffee cup here, and then if I move it from here to there, it means tastan. No, in other words, it's the same root word when we say cha. In other words, the interpretation is that it's a movement from one place to another. And then we use the same word, you know, when we point up to at night, we point up to the stars and we say cha, you know, stars. And we use the same word. And so what that tells me is that when we say cha, you know, is that we were moved from the stars to here. And that's how, you know, it seems to explain, you know, the word. And then the second part of that song is that, you know, what we, you know, normally call the chief thunderbird being carried my star, my energy, my spiritual energy, and brought it, and then embedded it. You know, we say kia tamaut in Cree, we say embedded it into my body. And so my body is a vessel of this energy, this what we normally know. And so for me, the proper word of the spiritual energy is kisik, you know. And when we say, you know, when we refer to the word heaven in Cree, we say kisiko. In other words, the most highest and sacred place that we come from. So our spirit comes from the most highest and sacred place, the most highest and sacred energy, and so our spirit is part of that energy. Let's take a break for 10 minutes. We'll come back.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come back. What is it? 10 minutes.